everyone, Laurel Beard here, welcome. Today I've got several cards to share with you today using Distress Oxides and various techniques you can do with the Distress Oxide. So let's just dive right in. All right, I'm working on some Vicky Boutin Media cardstock. It's just kind of a universal cardstock, so it works great with watercoloring, ink blending, etc. And it's a very nice bright white. Comes in 12 by 12 sheets. I just cut them down to 6 by 6 panels, and then I've got a lot to work with. Going in with the picked raspberry Distress Oxide, and I'm also using some makeup brushes I got off of Amazon. I will link right up here in the right hand corner to a tutorial on using these makeup brushes and different techniques that I found using them that work really well. So I'm going in with 3 different colors: picked raspberry, ripe persimmon, and squeezed lemonade. Again, these are all Distress Oxides. Very different from Distress inks, and we'll get into that in the video here. So this first one, I just kind of did this tie-dye looking thing, just blending it out with a dry brush. That's all I did in kind of circular motions. I did not try to blend evenly. I wanted it to look the way that it turned out. Next, I'm using the same 3 colors. I press them onto my glass mat that I'm working off of, and then I'm just pressing the cardstock into each color. Now, with Distress Oxides, the thing that makes them unique is you can layer colors on top of each other. You can layer colors on top of each other that do not complement each other, that would originally turn to mud, as long as you dry the colors in between. So you saw I used my Wow heat tool to dry that orange before I went ahead and put on the yellow. So as long as you dry your layers in between, you are able to pile up color on top of color, and they are not going to mix with each other and kind of create a muddy look, which I love about the Oxide. So just make sure that you're drying your panel in between, and you won't have any problems at all. I was never good with color mixing. I did not do good in kindergarten, so this is kind of a no-brainer. Just pick colors that you like and dry them in between, and you won't have any issues. Now, I'm using the Wow heat tool. Check the top right-hand corner for my review on this heat tool. I was a huge, and still am, a huge fan of the Wagner heat tool. I think it was probably the greatest heat tool ever invented. But this Wow tool I like because it's a 2-in-1, and just make sure you click on that right-hand corner, and then I explain why I feel that way. All right, so here I am pressing in the final color. This is not peacock feathers, that would be blue, picked raspberry. And again, I'll just go ahead and dry all that. I'm working off of this Cutterpillar tempered glass mat, which I love. I've used it forever. It's very inexpensive. I think it's about $25 on Amazon. I've also got a video up here I'll link to you in the right-hand corner if you want to check that out. It's the best glass mat I've ever found. It's large, so it's sufficient for my work surface, and it's cheap. Hello. 3 things in one. That's awesome. All right, so I'm good. I'm down. I'm happy with this. Everything's dry. Here's a look at just the blending with the ink with no water, and then the mushing technique to the right. And I'm going to go ahead and finish off these cards while I have them out. So I'm going to do some stamping with the Distress Oxides as well. So yes, you can stamp with the Oxides. This is Chip Sapphire. I don't really recommend stamping with the Distress inks because those inks are mainly made for technique, so they don't give you great impressions when stamping. But the Oxides, because it's a blend, it's a special hybrid blend with the pigment and dye, I guess, mixed together, whatever makes these so cool, you're able to get really good stamped impressions here. You can also sprinkle on embossing powder if you wanted to, because these inks stay wet a little bit longer, so you can heat emboss with the Distress Oxides as well if you wanted to. That's a little speed Baren I'm using. I think it's was made for printers, for like printer people. I guess, I don't know, but it works great for, you know, when I'm pressing my paper into a stamp or whatever. Effie from the 10 Stamps is the one that introduced me to this, and I love it. So that's why that's that doohickey thing I was using. All right, to finish off this card, this is a stamp set from Altenew. All the supplies I'm using are linked below in the description for you. And I'm just going in and adding. So there was that background stamp that I've already stamped, and then there's a couple of individual strips there that you can use to fill in. So I'm just using all the same colors I used in the background to just kind of build up the rest of this card here. And this is very easy to line up, so you can see I'm not even using my Misty stamping tool, which I normally use for any kind of layering stamp or anything where I'm trying to stamp inside a pattern or whatever, but I didn't have to with this one, so wada bang. I trimmed this card down and added a sentiment, and this card is done. I love the colors together. It reminds me of pink lemonade. I want to go have some pink lemonade right now. All right, so the other card I did, this is with the dry blending of the makeup brushes to kind of create that little tie-dye look. These are two singles. Well, I'm only using one of the stamps. This is one of the single stamps that's in that same stamp set. So I'm just going in using the same color inks again, but I am going to go in and add a gray, add some of that hickory smoke. Again, all the supplies, all the ink colors, all the stamp sets, all the sentiments I'm using, which actually most of the sentiments from all of these cards just came from 2 stamp sets, are linked below in the description for you. So here you can see I'm just doing some stamping. That microfiber cloth is so dirty. But these are microfiber cloths that I got from Brutus Monroe, and I just keep a garbage can near me and I throw all of the dirty cloths into the garbage can and then I wash them all at one time. My husband keeps throwing them away, which in theory it looks like garbage because it's in a garbage can and B, they're dirty, but they're not. You can wash these in your washing machine with regular detergent and you're good to go. Don't mix them up with clothes or you might come out with some really pretty colored undies. I'm just saying. All right, so here's the hickory smoke. I'm just going in. I'm not making a pattern. I'm being very freeing, very organic. And when this is this is not dumb. This is going to be done. I will trim this down and this card is done. See? And I love that look. I think it's stinking cool. All right, moving on. Now I'm going in with tumbled glass and cracked pistachio. I'm going in and just taking the ink pad and just smushing it straight down onto the cardstock. I'm using the same cardstock with all cards, that Vicky Boutin mixed media paper. Again, I trimmed all the panels down to 6 by 6 because it's easier for me because they come in 12 by 12 sheets. And then, you can trim down whatever parts you like of your projects that you're making. So I'll go ahead and dry that panel. Then I'm going to go in and add a little tumbled glass. Oh, I did add some water, as you could see there. That's just regular, good old-fashioned H2O from the bathroom. And I'll dry that, and it's kind of pushing some of the color around too, which I like. And this left me with a very pretty background, but I decided to use this new washi tape that I got from Altenew. It's one of their newer release washi tapes, and it's black and white, and I think it's so cool. So I just went ahead and adhered a piece of washi tape right over that. Since it's washi, it's transparent, so you can see right through that, and you can pick up all that blue and green in the background there. So that's that. Wada bang. All right, so this is a stamp set from the Hedgehog Hollow. It is from the May subscription box. I'm just going ahead and inking that up with some VersaFine Clear ink because that is a watercolor friendly ink because we're going to do some watercoloring with the Distress Oxides. So I have some water, a paintbrush, and my dirty old cloth right there to the side so I can do some, drying off of my brush if I need to. So I'm just going to go in with various colors. This is, I believe, Seedless Preserves, Chipped Sapphire. I'm going to go in and start coloring the picture of the flowers, and then I'll go in and color the flowers. And I kind of sped this part up because this gets a little redundant. You don't want to watch me continuously do the same thing over and over again. But again, as I've said before, as long as the layers are dry, the color that you're putting down is dry, you can mix the colors without worrying about them mixing together. I wanted the purple and the blue to mix together, so you see I did not dry the purple before adding on the blue. So I'm getting this very pretty mix of colors here. If you didn't want that, then just dry the purple before adding the blue or whatever colors you're using. So yeah, I'm just doing some coloring. So what can we talk about while I'm coloring? I would, anytime you're doing any kind of watercoloring, no matter what medium you use, I would recommend a watercolored paper or Bristol or the cardstock Bristol paper, which ironically is not a watercolor paper, but it works great with any of the real brush markers that you've seen on the market. I do love the Bristol paper. It's pricey, so I use that sparingly. I pretty much use that exclusively when I'm using any kind of water brush pens, marker pens like the Altenew or the Zigs or the Arteza. But this Vicky Boutin is very affordable, and I get it from scrapbook.com, and I just buy a whole bunch of it at the same time, and I'll be sure to link it up if you want to take a look. But I like it because you can use it with, it's a mixed media cardstock, so you can use it with pretty much any technique, and it's a really bright white. And trying to find a really bright white watercolored cardstock that doesn't pill up was always hard for me, but it's not hard for me anymore because I found it. Let's see, that red I'm using is Barn Door. It was not Seedless Preserves, by the way, Distress Oxides. It was Wilted Violet. So we've got Wilted Violet, Chipped Sapphire, Ripe Persimmon. The pink is Picked Raspberry. The green is Cracked Pistachio. The yellow is Squeeze Lemonade. The red is Barn Door. I think that pretty much takes us through all the colors I'm putting down on this flower here. So I want to, you could leave the background completely white. You could add a little stenciled pattern. You can do whatever you want. But I wanted to go in and just kind of create a watercolor wash on the background. So what I'm going to do once I'm done with the watercoloring the flowers in the vase is, of course, I'm going to dry it. I'm going to make sure it's good and dry with my heat tool. And then when that's done, I'm going to go ahead and just apply a wash over the background here. So for the first color of the wash, I'm going to use tumbled glass. And if you don't have a glass mat like this, you can use an acrylic block, a piece of plastic maybe from your packaging, a plastic plate, anything that's kind of slippery where you can just kind of create your own little palette. Or of course there are, palettes you can pick up. I know Altenew makes some great watercolor palettes that are very affordable if you wanted to do that. So I put on a very light wash of tumbled glass. Now I'm going in with the chipped Sapphire, which I love this color. I don't give this color enough credit. It's really, really quite pretty, and I'm glad I purchased that. I purchased all of my Oxides a la carte. I do not purchase the kits because I'm very picky with the colors I like, and I don't need every color in the world of the Distress line. So I bought all these individually in the colors that I like. Now I'm going to go in. Now this might scare you a little bit, and it kind of looks ugly at first, I'll be honest, but it dries very, very, very pretty. This is the yellow, the Squeeze Lemonade. And again, I did dry the tumbled glass and the chipped Sapphire. I did dry those before adding the yellow. And then when I'm done with this, I'll make sure it's all good, all dry, all happy, and making sure I like it. And then I will cut the panel down and check this out. Let's just ooh and ah. Ooh, ah. I just think that's stunning. I really do. These Distress Oxides are great for watercoloring. So I just adore that so very much. All right, so now we're going to create these 4 cards with a stencil, and 2 to the left that kind of had that blue tint. Oh, you just wait. I thought I messed up. So this is a stencil from Tonic Studios. It's called Linking Rings. I love they give you a little tab down there at the bottom so you can pull up your stencil without it interfering with your background. So I'm going in with some chipped Sapphire, and I'm just doing some very easy blending right through the stencil, using those makeup brushes off of Amazon. I will add a link to the bottom in the description of a video where I reviewed these and showed all kinds of techniques. Now I wanted to wet my brush, and I dipped it into the water and added way too much water. So I'm like, holy crap, look what I just did. Ah! I was freaking out, but it's so pretty when I peel it off. Take a look. So once that was dry, I was happy. I took whatever ink was left over on that brush and just made a second print with it, and that turned out to be really pretty too. But I tell you, when I was peeling that up, I was like, oh my gosh. But take a look. Here's the first one where I put way too much water down, and I just stamped that with purple Distress Oxides. And I just think that's really pretty. And then the second one, which was kind of like the leftover ink that was on my brush, created this little beauty. And that floral image is from the May Hedgehog Hollow subscription box, and it's my favorite box ever because it's got lots of florals in it. Oh yeah. All right, so now I'm going to blend in some of that ripe persimmon straight through that stencil. And I do like that the stencil is actually larger, so you have this whole border and the tab, so you can hold it down with your hands if you're too lazy to adhere the stencil down with some tape or with some of that pixie spray. So I'm digging it. So stencils for lazy people, and I love it. No, it's just brilliantly designed. I appreciate that. So I went in and added some pink right over the top of the orange, did no drying in between, and bada bang, done and done. Got a little bit of that pink in the center. So I just think that softness is absolutely beautiful. All right, so here I am going to go in. My brush is a little wet here, so I'm going in and adding some picked raspberry. My brush is damp. I did not dip it into the bucket of water like I did in the other card. I learned, even though I loved the result. Then I'm going to go in and add some green here. Why, I don't know, but I thought it would be quite pretty together. I'm not drying anything in between. I just want to see how it works. Now, I did switch my makeup brush when I went to the yellow, by the way. I tend to use the same brushes when they're in the same color family, but if I'm going totally opposite, I'll use a new brush. Once that background was dry, I stamped a floral image also from the Hedgehog Hollow, made sure that was dry, so I dried it with my heat tool, and then I'm going in and coloring in with some of that chipped Sapphire. And you can see it's not pulling up any of the color, so I love this. So I'm able to give, the vase some water, and I'm able to add a little yellow, a little something, something to some of those florals there. And, the key is just drying in between layers if you don't want them to blend together. And once this is dry, of course, I trimmed it down. And here's a look at this card. The background is pretty. Kind of looks like a ray of sunshine is coming from the top corner of that card. Did not mean to do that, but we're rolling with it because I love how that looks. So check out all these cards I made with the Distress Oxides. Love it, love it, love it. Lots of different techniques, lots of fun things you can do with the Oxides. And if you don't have them, give them a try. If you have them, give them a try again, because they're really a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll click down there on that right-hand button there and subscribe to my channel. Here's a couple other videos you might want to take a look at that might pique your interest. I'll also link to the makeup brush review video here. And yeah, so all the information you can need, possibly could need, is down below in the description. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you again real soon.